evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the July 7th, 2026 special meeting of the Kenton County Planning Commission to order. Welcome. If you wouldn't mind standing for our Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing, please.
As we, the members of this commission, gather here today, we ask that we are ever mindful of the opportunities to render service to our fellow citizens and to our community. Let us continue to strive to make a better world by always keeping in mind the enduring values of life, and let us exert our efforts in those areas upon which future generations can build with confidence. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Darple. Okay. Mr. Smith, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Armbruster, Commissioner Baumgardner, Commissioner Burling, Commissioner Bridges,
Present.
Commissioner Conway, Commissioner Darple,
Here.
Commissioner DeAngelis, Commissioner Dickey,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunham,
Here.
Commissioner Flem,
Here.
Commissioner France,
Yes.
Commissioner Heydrich,
Here.
Commissioner Herman,
Here.
Commissioner Janes, Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Simpson, Commissioner Sketch,
Here.
Commissioner Snyder,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Wickman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much. I just have to read for you all some of our public hearing procedures. Please note that there are two exits from the room, the main door that you entered and an emergency exit in front of you to the right in that alcove. Under normal circumstances, please leave the room by the door through which you entered. In an emergency, please use whichever exit is closest. There is a staircase located just outside the exit doors to the right that will take you to the first floor. Fire codes prohibit blocking doors or aisles. Restrooms are located outside the main doors to the left. Food or drinks are not permitted in the public section of this room, and please turn off your cell phone or set it to vibrate so as to not interrupt our proceedings. If you wish to speak on a matter, you must register by signing up at the back table. You can decide later if you want to speak, but only those individuals who have registered to speak will be allowed to comment. And when I call your name, please come forward to the lectern and state your name and address for the record. Okay. Also, commissioners, I was asked to remind everyone to make sure that they speak into the microphone clearly. This is being recorded and broadcast. And also, cell phones, I know, can, if put on the table near the microphone, can cause some feedback. Okay. Let's see. Next item is our KCPC Executive Committee Treasurer election. I know I mentioned in our last meeting that with Commissioner Ryan retiring, who was our treasurer, we had an opening there. I had indicated that I had recommended Commissioner Snyder, who's been a very long-term and productive commissioner, very valuable to the process, to serve in that capacity. But I'd like to open the floor up for nominations for anyone that would be interested in nominating someone, including themselves, to run for that position.
Commissioner Snyder already nominated.
Yes. Okay. Hearing no one else, we can move towards a vote. If someone would like to make a motion to approve Commissioner Snyder as treasurer.
I'll make a motion to approve Commissioner Snyder as treasurer.
Second.
All right, first by Commissioner Darple, second by Commissioner Sketch. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Snyder, for doing this.
Congratulations.
You know, one of the other things I thought of too is, you know, she's been the long-standing Independence rep, and she has there's a lot of work, as we all know. Independence is, you know, a hotbed of development, just because that's where land and infrastructure is located. And she does a lot of work And I think it's helpful to have, an independence rep is on our executive committee, so thanks for serving.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Okay. All right, you have in front of you this month's agenda. Any questions, comments, changes? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Move to approve it.
Okay, first by Commissioner Wickman, second by Commissioner Snyder. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You have in front of you the June 4th, 2026 regular meeting minutes. There were some just minor cleanup items. There is a redlined version in your packet there, just adding the words "the" and "had." And so if you guys want to take a look at that real fast, and let me know if you have any questions or comments. Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to approve those as amended.
So moved.
Okay, first by Commissioner Bridges. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that, oh, sorry, Commissioner Vaughn is our second. Any discussion? Mr. Smith, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Bridges?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Wickman?
Yes.
Commissioner Conway?
Abstain.
Commissioner Darple?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickey?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunham?
Yes.
Commissioner Flem?
Yes.
Commissioner France?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidrich?
Yes.
Commissioner Herman?
Abstain.
Commissioner Martin?
Abstain.
Commissioner Sketch?
Abstain.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
The minutes are approved.
All right, thank you very much. Next item is the report of our receipts and expenditures for the month of May. Any questions? All right, let's see. We'll entertain a motion to approve the receipts and expenditures.
I'll make a motion we approve the receipts and expenditures for the month.
First by Commissioner Snyder,
Moved. Second.
second by Commissioner Vaughn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved, thank you. We have a report of last month's actions by staff. Any comments, questions? All right, we have the report of last month's actions by our legislative bodies. All right.
Did you note that a couple of those, they did not take action and therefore ratified our actions, so that is interesting. So that process is hopefully speeding things up and helping things further.
Yep,
That was good to see.
yep, that is good. Is it 21 days that they have, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so for those that may not be familiar, Kentucky changed its law, I don't know, it's probably been 5 years or so ago now, to permit some cities to adopt in their zoning ordinance language that our recommendation would automatically become approved without them having to take action. Now, anyone could appeal it within that 21-day period, and then they would have a regular hearing on it. But for efficiency standpoint, if it's a very straightforward issue, no one has any issues with it, it really saves time for the cities and the county, so it's worked out well. Okay, this brings us to our first public hearing of the night. It's file number PC-26-0008-MA, unincorporated map amendment. The applicant is James W. Burling Engineering on behalf of BBB Developers. The location is an area of approximately 18.4 acres located on the south side of Mayher Road between Graven Road to the east and Glenhurst Drive to the west, approximately a quarter-mile east of Glenhurst Drive in unincorporated Kenton County. The request is a proposed map amendment to the described area from A2, an agricultural zone, to R1F, a single-family residential zone. The applicant is proposing a single-family subdivision with 68 lots, new roads, and new public utilities with a net density of approximately 4.31 dwelling units per net acre. Mr. Videkovich.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
need to recuse myself.
All right. Let the minutes reflect that Mr. Sketch has recused himself. And now, Mr. Vidakovich.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, and for the record, my name is Andy Vudakovich. I'm the Director of Planning with Planning Development Services. As the Chair stated, this is a map amendment in unincorporated Kent County to rezone an area from agricultural to single-family residential. The site is located within the suburban sub-area of unincorporated Kenton County. It is located south of Kentucky 536, and it is located very close to the Boone County line. The site is approximately 18.4 acres, located on the south side of Mayhill Road between Graven Road to the east and Glenhurst Drive to the west. It is approximately a quarter mile east of Glenhurst Drive. The site is a large open parcel consisting mostly of maintained grassland with no structures. This is a view of the site looking directly south from Mayhill Road. There are scattered tree lines running along the perimeter and through the interior drainage swales, breaking up the open field but leaving a majority of the site in grass cover. This is looking southeast from Mayhill Road, again at the site in question. The topography is rolling with a moderate to steep relief. The high point is near Mayhill Road, which is the direction that we're looking here. On the right-hand side of the slide is Mayhill Road, and the site extends up in that direction. And it drops off towards the drainage hollows that cut through the interior and toward the lower southern and western edges of the site. And finally, this is looking at the site. Again, it's looking almost directly south, but this is taken from Parker Drive, which will be directly across the street from the main entrance of the proposed development. The site is currently zoned A2, which is agricultural. Agricultural zone allows for single-family residential and agricultural uses on a minimum lot area of 1 acre. The A2 zone also allows for conservation subdivision style developments. Areas to the west and east of the site are also zoned A2. Across Mayhill Road on the north side, we've got a couple of different zoning designations. So there is some agricultural land to the north, as well as a R1C with a residential cluster development overlay. So basically what that is, it's a single-family residential zone, but it's like a planned unit development where they can set their own lot area and setback standards. So in this particular case, for this R1C zone, the maximum density is 2.5 dwelling units per net acre, or approximately a minimum lot size of 6,400 square feet. And then to the south of the site is Eco-Commerce Park, which is a very light industrial zone. The existing land use in the area is reflective of the zoning. Again, it's mostly open space, agricultural land, and large lot, single-family homes on the south side of Mayhill Road. On the north side, you've got the smaller suburban-style single-family residential, as well as some larger lot, single-family residential and agricultural and open space uses. The area directly to the west, or excuse me, the east of the site, which is in the gray, that is identified as a utility. There's an electric substation located directly adjacent to the site. The recommended land use of the comprehensive plan identifies the site for residential development under 2 dwelling units per net acre. That's basically everything south of Mayhill Road has that designation. Directly to the south of the site where it's zoned, that Eco-Commerce Park, that is identified for industrial uses. The north side of Mayhill Road is identified for residential at a density of 2.1 to 4 dwelling units per net acre. There are no areas of developmentally sensitive area on the site. There are a few blue line streams in those drainage swales on the southern and eastern portions of the site. Mayhill Road is identified as a collector street. It provides for 2-way traffic within 2 driving lanes. There are no sidewalks on the southern side of Mayhill Road. On the northern side of Mayhill Road, there's no sidewalks except for in front of the subdivisions that have been developed previously. All of the other roads in the area are identified as local streets. So there is quite a bit of background and history with this site. I want to just take a walk through that a little bit. So back in 1999, there was an area of approximately 50 acres. It was located on Mayhew Road, approximately a quarter mile west of the site. This is the Glenhurst subdivision, and this was rezoned from agricultural to R1C RCD, which is that residential cluster overlay. That development was for 149 single-family homes, which was approximately 3.5 dwelling units per net acre. Staff and the Planning Commission recommended favorable, and the fiscal court approved that map amendment. So that was back in 1999. And then in 2004, the 55 acres directly across the Mayhair Road from the site in question was proposed to be rezoned. The classification was agricultural, and as I mentioned before, it is now currently the R1C with the residential cluster development. It was originally proposed to be 120 homes, which is approximately 2.5 dwelling units per net acre. Staff and the Planning Commission recommended favorable, and the fiscal court approved that map amendment. In 2006, there was the adoption of the South Bank Lick Small Area Study as part of the comprehensive plan. This was a plan that covered a really large area, which included the site. But again, as you see there, it mostly is off down to the south of the site, and to the east of the site is the primary area of this study. Staff recommended favorably, and the Planning Commission approved that small area study. So as a part of that study, and really concurrently while that study was being adopted, there were also 2 map amendments, and they were directly related to the implementation of that study. So the first map amendment was to rezone approximately 1,900 acres, which included the site, to that new A2 designation. The primary difference between the A1 and the A2 designation is the allowance of the conservation style subdivisions. Otherwise, in most respects, they're very similar in terms of development standards and permitted uses. And this went through the Planning Commission, recommended favorable, and the fiscal court approved it. And then along with that was the ECP zone, the Eco Commerce Park zone, which is directly to the south of the site. Kind of followed a similar path. Again, it was a zone that was specifically drafted in order to implement the recommendations of that comprehensive plan, the small area study there. The property to the north did go through a change in 2012. It went from 120 single-family homes to 124 single-family homes, so it was a slight increase from what was initially approved. The density remained relatively the same. It went from 2.5 dwelling units to 2.55 dwelling units per net acre. But again, this went through the Planning Commission and staff and the fiscal court with favorable recommendations. And then finally, related to the site itself, there was an application actually submitted back in 2025, a very similar request to the one we have today for 68 single-family homes. However, that issue was withdrawn prior to it being notified and heard by the Planning Commission, so it never even was on the agenda. It was withdrawn prior to any of that being necessary. So again, that's the history of the site. Like I said, it's a pretty busy part of the county. I felt it was necessary to spend some time going through that. So the applicant did submit a concept plan. The concept plan's on your screen right now. It does indicate a new residential subdivision with 68 single-family homes. There will be 5 new streets on the site. The main access is coming off of Mayhair Road, as I indicated, directly across from Parker Drive, which is the subdivision across the street. And then there will be 4 new cul-de-sacs on the site. There are 2 stormwater retention detention areas on the site. The applicant has indicated that the homes will have a mixture of 3 or 4 bedrooms with a selling price of $350,000 to $400,000. Also, in regards to traffic, we did have our staff engineer look at this. According to the Institute for Traffic Engineers, a single-family subdivision with 68 homes will create a peak of 52 trips in the morning and a peak of 69 trips in the afternoon. Both of these thresholds do not exceed the requirements for a traffic impact study. So I just wanted to make sure I brought that up because I know it's always an issue that is discussed at our hearings. So the R1F zone, so the applicant is requesting a straight R1F zone, no PUD or residential cluster development overlay. The R1F zone permits single-family homes with a minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet. And staff did conduct a full review of the comprehensive plan, and staff found that there were areas of consistency, areas that were relevant, and also areas that were inconsistent. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to explain those areas. So in terms of being consistent with the comprehensive plan, staff finds that the proposed development will provide for a new housing with vehicular access to employment centers. As you go down Mayhair Road, the site is approximately 1.5 miles from Dixie Highways to the west and 5 miles from either the 536 or Richwood Road interchanges with I-7175. Additionally, the site does have the capacity for higher density development. The proposed development will also support aging in place at an attainable price point for 65 plus home buyers. Excuse me. Additionally, the long-standing trend with suburban residential development has been for larger lot subdivision. The proposed development will provide for a new variety of housing types on smaller lots within the suburban sub-area. In terms of areas that are relevant, staff does point out that the development will have access to Mayhair Road, which is identified as a collector street. Therefore, there may be some improvements. It's a collector street, but it's maintained by the county. So basically, the applicant will have to just make sure that they meet with the county, and the county is okay with that entrance being there and improvements that might be necessary to do that. And staff also notes, as it is with all residential developments, sidewalks are necessary along all the interior streets and also along Mayhair Road as well. In terms of inconsistencies, so staff notes that the proposed development does not provide a housing type that's considered income aligned. The proposed development is not consistent with the recommended land use map, which, as I previously identified, is for residential development at under 2 dwelling units per net acre. The comprehensive plan does allow for a density increase if the development is proposing income aligned housing. However, since this doesn't actually fall into any of those categories, that allowance does not apply to this development. So we talk a lot about income aligned housing. We did refer to the Northern Kentucky Area Development District study. We actually completed a housing study, so this evaluation is based on that new data. But the overall findings where you see where there's a deficit and surplus really haven't changed over time. And anyway, with regard to this development, again, the housing type that's being proposed does not fall within an area where there is a deficit of supply. That new housing study that we also conducted also did identify this area as, it does not identify the area as being suitable for housing development based on access to amenities, transit, jobs, utilities, and walkability. So you'll recall earlier I said this had good access. What I intended to say was this has pretty good vehicular access to Dixie Highway and the interstate. However, when our consultant looked at things such as walkability and access to other amenities and stuff like that, based on their findings, this is their findings that they reported to us. As I mentioned also, this site is also within the South Bank Lake Small Area Study, specifically Area 3 of the Small Area Study. The recommended land use from that study and the zoning recommendation was for conservation subdivisions, and the study specifically mentioned that conservation subdivisions should be developed at a density of no more than 1 dwelling unit per net acre. So staff finds that the proposed development is not consistent with the South Bank Lake Small Area Study, which again identifies the site for conservation subdivisions that will help maintain the rural field. So state statute says that before a map amendment is granted, that there must be some specific findings. The first finding is that it is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. If it's not in agreement with the comprehensive plan, do one of the following conditions exist? Is the existing zoning classification appropriate or inappropriate, and is the proposed classification appropriate? Or have there been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted? So staff is giving this an unfavorable recommendation. The basis for staff's recommendation is that this is generally not in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Although there are areas of consistency, especially with providing a new variety of housing type for aging in place, the proposed plan will allow for residential development at 4.31 dwellings per net acre in an area that is identified for residential at a density of less than 2 dwellings per net acre. Staff also notes that the South Bank Lake Small Area Study recommends that conservation subdivisions be utilized to preserve the rural character, and the comprehensive plan specifically allows for the consideration of higher than recommended densities for projects that can be classified as income aligned. And as I stated earlier, this development is not considered consistent with the income aligned recommendations and is therefore not available for this consideration. Some important points before I turn it over for questions. So first of all, for a development or rezoning to a straight residential zone, development plan is not required, although we do typically get these concept development plans. So while not required for the specific development, the applicant has stated in writing that if approved, they will not exceed the density of 4.31 dwellings per net acre. So while staff is recommending unfavorable, if the Planning Commission or the Fiscal Court takes action to approve the map amendment, it should be done with that condition of not exceeding 4.31 dwellings per net acre. And as we always do, we like to point out things where we'll need some more information. Again, so if it's approved, we will need additional information on individual lot area, lot width, lot setbacks, things of that nature. Those are things that we typically get when individual lots are developed. One thing we do want to point out for the applicant is that the county does have standards for the amount of paving within the front yard. This has been problematic in the past for developments that have been approved, but then they find out, like especially on the pie-shaped lots at the end of cul-de-sacs, that they weren't laid out appropriately to meet the standards. Kenton County did adopt new regulations, which loosened that up a little bit, but again, we just want to make sure the applicant is aware of that as they move forward if this is approved. And then the size, type, and location of all temporary subdivision entrance and permanent entrance signs will be required as well. Regarding the subdivision regulations, as I stated earlier, all streets are required to have sidewalks as well as the frontage along Mayhair Road. One of the things that will be evaluated during the subdivision process is reasonable access to adjacent parcels. As you recall, that concept plan was showing cul-de-sacs. Again, that's something that is looked at during the subdivision process. If that's something that's reasonable or not, that will be something that gets taken a look at. And finally, stormwater management. The applicant has showed a couple of retention ponds that they will obviously need to meet all subdivision and SD1 requirements if this is approved. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Vedakovich, question. And I know that the income-aligned housing data is relatively new. I'm looking at that chart.
Mm-hmm.
What is the dollar amount that the house would need to sell for it to get into the blue or even just a gray there for a 3-bedroom?
Sure. So unfortunately, I don't have those numbers
Okay.
off the top of my head.
I'm just wondering how close it is.
Sure.
So, okay.
Just to follow on that a little bit, maybe, Andy, if you could help me understand how this chart even works. If you just, for example, you go to the first line, if your income's less than 15,000, any housing is going to be a struggle, but that you go from a deficit of 3-bedroom to 1125 to 4-bedroom would be way more deficit, and it goes way down to negative 470. That makes me question any of the numbers in the chart. I don't understand what the numbers mean.
Sure. So this is not only based on like what someone may or may not be able to afford based on their income, but also what is the current supply and demand within the county, which is a lot more than just, seeing what's there, but it has a lot to do with like the economics and the income of the area. So, and what's truly in demand. So as you stated, like the darker the blue is the greater the deficit. And as you mentioned, certainly a lot of the areas where we see a big deficit is in the lower income ranges as well. But surprisingly, we also see it in deficit in the larger areas too. So just as a general note, like, so when we're talking about income aligned, certainly like affordability is a part of that for the lower incomes, but it also does apply to larger homes and things like that as well. So it's not a strict definition based on like affordable guidelines from HUD, for instance.
So what when the grid you got outlined in the deep red, the 4,800 and the 901, what do those two numbers mean?
Right. So what that means is that right now there is currently over almost a 4,500 unit surplus of homes in the county based on what the current demand actually is.
So those are homes that are available for sale now?
Not necessarily for
4,500?
sale, but that are currently in the supply.
Okay, in the supply.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And they're homes, not units, right?
Right. Well, and this can be looked at, yes, when you're talking about owning, that's generally single-family homes. When you get into the rental, that's number of units.
It'd be condominiums as well, would fit into the home side?
Yes.
Okay.
This is based on whether it's rental or owned. So
Okay.
if, a condo could be rented or it could be owned, but yeah.
And one more on that chart while it's up. That's the whole county. It's
Yes.
it's not localized based on where we're reviewing zoning. It's the whole county. So it's somebody out in unincorporated Kenton County, that's as far north as Covington or Park Hills.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
who makes the decision of whether a project or proposal is income aligned or not? Is that staff decision?
It's
Or-
not really like a decision, like we base that information off of the information that the applicant provides to us. We do make a couple of assumptions, like 20% down, and we have to like use an average of like the interest rates, in the area, which are constantly fluctuating, as you know.
Right.
So, but again, it's not really like a decision. I think we do base it on, again, the data from the applicant and sort of like what's considered to be best practices in figuring that kind of information out.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a little confused, and still am, and under the, your report on page 5, the housing element, you state this, that the development will support aging in place at an attainable price point according to the income line graph. Then in the very next page, next paragraph, you state the proposed development does not provide housing type considered income aligned. So kind of not sure,
Yeah,
does it provide it or not?
Right, so, and I'm sorry if that's a little bit confusing. So this table is just like one small part of an entire study. So that study does talk about like there are different demands depending on like demographics and things like that. And it does talk about how this does fit within, the type of housing that, and the price points that would be demanded by those that are 65 plus. So, and I'm sorry that got a little confusing, but then when we're talking about the income alignment, specifically, that's where we're talking about this table here.
I have a question about the 65-plus homeowners. Are 65-plus homeowners looking for 3 to 4 bedroom homes right now? I would think they'd be downside.
Sure, well, and, I mean, I won't be able to like necessarily speak to like why the consultant came to that conclusion. And in terms of like what's really in demand and or non-demand, I'll let the applicant kind of speak to that as well.
So, kind of on the back of that, I was wondering what in the proposal makes you think it's, this is an aging in place development? I mean, if it's, like in 3 or 4 bedrooms, aging in place would be patio homes, 1 and 2 bedroom. But I don't know if any of that is in this development. I don't know that we can tell what's in it. It's just squares on the
Right.
site plan.
Right, I think the applicant will be able to speak a
Yeah.
little bit more about like the product that they're actually proposing for here.
Okay.
And why it might speak to like that demand or filling that demand.
Since we're talking income aligned, on that page 6 of there, it said that the housing element allows consideration of higher density if it met the income aligned. What would that density be? Do we know?
There's no parameters with the comprehensive plan, like how high would be considered like too high in terms of like increasing density. It's still gonna be based like very much on a case-by-case basis and what the surrounding conditions of the site are, so.
Okay.
y-
And
you
then,
know,
but then how is that, because I'm not familiar, how does that compare with whatever density comes with the conservation area?
Sure, so the conservation development, if that were to be utilized, can't exceed 1 dwelling unit per net acre.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Dark.
One quick, did the applicant state whether or not they thought the current zoning was inappropriate and this is appropriate, or if there was a major change? I mean, we kind of have to find
Yeah,
one thing or the other, and I'd like to know what to listen for, you
Yep.
know, for the proponents and opponents.
so the applicant did submit like a very detailed letter with their proposal.
I saw that-
And I'll kind of let them speak to like what their case is for this.
Okay.
What was the density of the Anna Lane development?
Which one is that? Is that Glenhurst?
That's the one directly across.
So directly across the street, that's 2.55 dwelling units per net acre.
Okay. Thank you.
And then was part of it 3 points?
And then Glenhurst was like over 3.
That's the, 2.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Nekovich? Yeah, Commissioner Vaughn.
Just to clarify a little bit, the over 65, you don't usually address age in that. Is that because the applicant mentioned that was their intent in some communication with you, or is that something that will be in our packets from now on?
So that is based like primarily on statements from the applicant. Our study, I think, did touch on that as well, which is why we felt like it was justified to point that out in our staff report.
I just didn't know if futuristically we were gonna have that in all of them, even if they weren't, so.
I mean,
Thank you.
and the comp plan does call out for, you know, a mix of,
Yep.
you know, looking for mixes. of-
Well, and I'll say, especially like policies regarding aging in place and things like that are really called out in the comprehensive plan
Yep.
specifically.
Anyone else? Good questions? All right,
I have
thanks.
just one more. Andy, just looking at this, and I know, and you mentioned in your report that there's no dimensions for setbacks, but I think our regs said that the paved front yards can't exceed 40%. Is that generally right? And just,
Yeah, I
if you
spelled it
got
out
a
in the
2-car
staff.
garage, some of those front yards, I don't know that you can do that.
Yeah, so
They'll
the
have to
county-
figure all that out.
They'll have to figure that all out, and the county did loosen things up at the end of cul-de-sacs, especially where you have like narrower front yards. But yeah, without actually knowing like what that's gonna look like, it's hard to say whether it meets it or not, so we're just,
But if they can't do it, then they gotta increase the lot width, right, to get to the 40, to meet the 40%.
right, they could, or they could go to the Board of Adjustment if they
Oh,
needed
yeah.
to for a specific case.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. So before I call the applicant up, I'll just kind of go through the list that I have signed up. Let me know if you want to speak and you're not on the list. Jesse Dalton, Heather Grothaus, I'm sorry, now I'll list if it's for, against, or neutral. So signed up against, I have Jesse Dalton, Heather Grothaus, Tim Grothaus, Stephanie Kimberlin, and Jerry Bach. And then, let's see, and then Carla Palmer does not wish to speak, but is noted that she's showing opposition by being against. Then signed up in favor is Steve Burling, Matt Maines, and J.J. Miller. And then anyone else? Donald Barth, we don't have you down for, against, or neutral. Against, okay. I'm down for against. Does anyone else feel the need to talk? Okay. All right, and then I also have 2 emails that we'll read into the record. One is by Benjamin Bach, and then, I don't know, do I need Greg's email that is attached part of the application packet? Okay, all right, so I can cover it that way. All right, so just the one email then. All right, with that, we'll call the applicant up.
My name is Steve Burling. I'm with James W. Burling Engineering Company. It'll be easiest for me and maybe you guys to follow along if I kind of go through the same thing Andy just went through and just talk about things. But I'm going to talk about the plan. We have Matt Maines here from the Dries Company. He's going to talk more about the houses and the type of houses and the people moving in and out. And we're also one of the items of the history. We were the item that we were to submit in 2025. But right then, you guys were going through this or the fiscal court was going through the what do you call, damn it.
South Plant County site readiness.
Yeah, the Site Ready initiative, and that was at Mare Hair Road. So, at the time, the county was thinking about putting industrial all the way to Mare Hair Road. But since then, they've moved that behind us. So that's now no longer, this property is no longer considered to be any chance of being industrial. So we're back. The site is drawn with 52-foot wide lots, not 50-foot lots, which is required by the zoning. They were 52-foot. It was required by actually it was a different builder that wanted it, but right now we're working with Dries. But this is a smaller lot community. It's smaller in width and smaller in square footage, trying to maximize the density. When I did the drawing, I thought I was at 3.69 units to the acre, less than 4, but I didn't realize that Kenton County, not like other counties, takes the net acreage. So I had to take all the acreage out of the right-of-way and the roadways, and then that made it 4.3. So I went from 3.69 or 3.7 to 4.3. So, my goal was to keep it under 4. And we have some places on this piece of property that were lined up across the street. There's turn lanes already to make the left-hand turn into the property across the street, which also made enough widening that we can make a left turn into our property. So the only improvement that I see on this plan that's sitting up there is we would have to do a right-in decel lane. So that's something we would be able to do. And I'm just trying to get you guys familiar with, we're trying to get the second home buyer or the first home buyer or the downsized home buyer. That is what we're trying to do. Somebody who doesn't want a big front yard or a big backyard, but wants a brand new house. And the lots across the street in Glenhurst, I know their units per acre are less, but they got a lot of land that's not usable. And they're doing 124 lots at a time, and They got valleys and creeks and hillsides, and they get to use all that extra ground that they can't use anyway into their density. This one here, it's pretty efficient. It's a nice hayfield. You know, we got, only to the south is it get a little steep and not usable, actually to the southwest. You know, but it's, we can work with reducing the density and try to get it back under the 4. We thought we were under the 4 units to the acre. You know, this is a process that we can work with. So Mayhair Meadows and Glenhurst, Mayhair Meadows across the street is 55 to 60 foot wide lots, but they got a different zoning. We went straight zoning. We didn't ask for a special zone or anything. And Glenhurst is 60 foot lots. So we're a little smaller than them, but and a little bit more efficient, but that's the kind of product that they're looking for. We can't find another product like this. And I don't really call this Southern Kenton County. This is kind of Western Kenton County. You know, Southern Kenton County to me was always the south side of 16. You know, south side 16, south side 17. That's when you get real Southern Kenton County. But we're only a mile away from Boone County, and this is, Andy used 2 things to, I'm sorry, Mr. Novakovich. I always have a hard time with his last name. But Andy says the housing study. I've tried to understand the housing study, and I don't think you can get any single family residential to make that housing study work. I think the only way you make that work is with, you know, apartments or condominiums or to hit that goal that he's got. And nobody has any interest in doing anything like that out there. The other thing is the small, the study that was done, the small area study, that was done in 2006, which is 20 years old. And that main focus was from Wright Road all the way to 16. We just happened to be in the very top northwest corner of that study. So, you know, the 2 units to the acre we don't think is reasonable. But we think we do match the comp plan except for a couple things, 3 things. We don't match because of his housing study. We don't match because of the comp plan calls for 2 units to the acre. And we don't match because of the small area study, which was basically focusing, trying to get industrial from Wright Road out to Kentucky Highway 16 and over to, you gotta go through Boone County to get over to Lexington Pike and the interstate. That is a great place for industrial. And we know industrial's behind us. We got a nice natural divide to our south. There's a nice ravine to our south, which is all grown up, and that's a natural divide. To the east, we got a big utility transformations facility, and they got enough area to build a whole nother one next to it. So, and that's actually who Mr. Miller bought the property from. He bought it from the utility company. So Mr. Miller's not trying to buy the property or thinking about buying the property. He owns the property. So I was to follow a line, but I came just rambling a little bit. But talked about that. If we're looking for some conservation and different things, like I said, to the south and the west is really my only neighbor that can really see into it. From the south, we sit way above our neighbor, above the valley. To the east, we sit next to the utility plant. We got deep lots to the west where we could do a conservation and put some easements on there for buffers and different things like that, if that's what would make it easier and better for the community to be hidden a little bit, and we can reduce the number of units to a reasonable number to try to get back underneath the 4 units to the acre. You know, maybe even make a pocket park right in the middle, take a couple lots and do stuff like that. We're open to all these things. Mr. Miller's been doing development for a long time. He does a very nice job, very well. The other thing is the need. There's a big need. We do a little development. Mr. Miller does development. I got one in southern Kenton County, but it's in Walton, it's in the city of Walton, and we sell 70-foot lots. We put a new section on in January on 70-foot lots, and we've sold 16 of them already to date. We put 34 out, 16 sold. Mr. Miller just did one right there across from Mills Park on Kentucky Highway 16, and he put 26 lots in December. He's already sold 16 of the 26. So this is a 68-unit lot. Like I said, I'd have to get down to 62, 63 to get under 4 units, 4 net units to the acre. You know, we can work with those kind of things, but we think this is a needed product. We think it's a good product. It's like an empty nester or cluster development because you're 52 feet wide. The largest width house you can put on there is a 42-foot width. You most probably could get down to a 38-foot width. But again, Mr. Maines can speak to all those things. Mayhair Road will do those things. And there was some other items here that Andy brought up. Additional comments. He talked about, first one was units to the acre. We can work with that. And the second was the regulations, the lots, the width, the building heights, identified additional information required. We can do all those things. Basically A, B, C, D, and number 2 is no problem. We can do all those things. And 3 is that we won't front any houses on Mayhair Road. 4 and B is we can connect to the adjacent property owner. We have no problem with all those things. So, and the last one was C, stormwater. I put 2 lakes on there on purpose because they're nice to have. They take care of themselves much better than a dry pond. They'll have fish, kids can fish in them. But they take care of all my stormwater detention problems, water quality problems, everything. Anything that goes into the site on all these streets will drain into those. It will come out at the same rate it's coming out today or slower. So the lakes are they're good for the community, they're good for us, for sales, and they're good for the stormwater detention. So that's kind of everything I had. We just feel like we meet the comprehensive plan except for the 3 items that Andy says we do not meet. And I don't think I can meet the one. I don't think if I built 2 units to the acre, I don't think if I built 1 unit to the acre, I could meet his housing study. So, because I don't think you can build a brand new house for less than $350,000. So, but that's, again, Mr. Maines can answer those questions much better than I can. But I'll be here if anybody has questions and after Mr. Maines does his part.
Any questions for Mr. Burling? Although I'm thinking it may be helpful to hear Mr. Maines with the applicant.
I think, yeah.
And then we can plug in, ask questions where we see gaps or.
So if that 40%, if that's the right percentage of pavement to front yard, if that doesn't work, I guess the first solution is just move the house back.
Well, the zoning says a 50-foot lot. That means I can build anything bigger than a 50-foot lot. 50 is the smallest. Right now, my smallest lot, every lot there is designed for 52 feet wide at 25 feet back. So I can build them at 55, I can build them at 58, I can build them at 65 feet. But I just can't build them less than 50 feet wide. And I can't build them less than 6,000 square feet. There's a lot of lots there, a lot bigger than 6,000 square feet. And, but there's a couple that are right at 6,000 square feet. But as far as getting the cul-de-sacs, yes, I can adjust and move and get the percentages right. Yes.
Mr. Bird, did we understand right there? They had a note in here that you already agreed to the 4.3 dwelling units per acre, but you're actually willing to go to under a 4 density?
Yes, we'll
I just wanna
do.
make sure I heard that right.
Exactly. Like I said, when the plan was done, everything was done, and I'm just going to say Andy, because when Andy called and asked us if we would agree to that, sure we'll agree, because that's what it says, but, after getting the report and everything, I didn't realize they were doing, when he called and asked for that, that's when I realized it was net acre, not gross acre. Gross acre, like I said, is what we normally do. We see how many units we can get per acre of what you buy. I didn't know I had to give up the part that, you know, that we build all that road and infrastructure and we then turn all that over to the county. So I just had that backwards. But we will do less.
I do have one question, I guess, Matt. This zone under the, because we're in South Canton, we're in the R1F, it says they don't require a concept development, but we do have one in front of us. So does this plan, if it's not required, but because it's here, the zoning still, this plan, this concept plan would become part of that zone, approved zoning, right?
If you're submitting the concept plan as indicative of what you intend to build, then yes.
Yeah, but I guess the question is, Mr. Darple, in order for me to back it off into Mr. Francis' comments to get everything worked, the roadway, I can say would 90%, 95% would stay the same, but the lot widths and things like that, and the density would have to come down a little bit.
You're getting to why I'm asking the question.
Yes.
I mean, if this is becoming part, because every other, 90% of the map amendments we get
Right.
require a
Right.
concept development plan, and you gotta stick to that.
Mhm.
And that's what I wanna find out, because if we might as well not even look at the plan, if we might, and just start talking about what, you know, we're gonna talk minimum lot widths, or we're gonna talk minimum density, or we're gonna do, because if you're telling us, no, wait a minute, this concept development plan doesn't become part of our zoning, I wanna make sure, because otherwise we're gonna be back here fighting over something later.
Yes.
If we don't get that decided now.
Well, like I said, the plan is a good plan, and if I lose, 68, and I get down to 62, if I lose 6 lots, or give a couple lots up to a park, or do things like that, do I have to come back to have the concept plan reviewed?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I would like the flexibility to say, you know, we can,
If there's minor changes in the
I
plan,
would-
it doesn't
yeah.
require coming back. If there's material changes to the plan, then it requires coming back.
I would just say they would be minor changes that staff could review and make this decision whether we would have to come back or not.
But otherwise, the plan that you're submitting, the concept plan, is intended to be part
Yes.
and parcel with the zone change you're requesting.
Let's, for example, Mr. Smith, that the cul-de-sac to the west that I have heading that way, if the neighbor wants at the top left of the drawing, if the staff says, hey, I need you to extend that road to the neighbor, then that will be a change, but I think that would be a minor change and something that staff would want. You know, that's
would
the
be
kind
my
of change
opinion.
that I would be talking about, yes.
That would be my opinion.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to ask Andy, you know, just the example he gave, if he loses 6 lots, you know, and adjusts them historically based on how they've interpreted it, would that be deemed, you know, minor administrative change or not?
In my opinion, that's minor.
Okay, all right, that's good.
But if we do, typically right now, I thought it was 10% of density change, especially if it's increased, but generally they don't say so much about the decrease in density. So, so decreasing in density typically is major, but an increase would, so I don't know, my concern just is I don't want to keep.
I understand your concern, and I'm not trying to make things difficult, but, you know, I'm trying to listen to what the report said, I'm trying to listen to what staff said, and I'm trying to go back to what our original thoughts and ideas were, which was, I thought we were matching what was across the street, which would have been less than 4 units to the acre. And we got to 4.3, but, you know, we've already had submitted the plan when the question was asked to us. So,
What county or counties do it gross acreage
Well,
versus net?
I'm positive Boone County does it gross acreage.
They do gross.
Yes.
Do you know about Campbell?
No, I Haven't done anything in Campbell for a few years. We've always done gross, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Burling before we call it Mr. Maines? All right, thank you.
All right.
Let's see, Mr. Maines? State your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Matt Maines with Dries Homes, 211 Grandview Drive, Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. So I'm just going to speak on behalf of a home builder that's interested in building in this community. Try to keep that hat on. I come to a lot of these meetings as a developer. So, you know, the types of homes we would build in here is what we kind of consider our Dries Pure Style home. I think one of the challenges for us specifically in this area is how do we build a house that is quality at the price that is that we're proposing here, which is around $350 to $400 range. And while there is the housing study, you know, some of the things that I think you kind of alluded to, the challenge is that is in Southern Kenton County, for a site like this, obviously attached houses, condos, townhomes aren't necessarily appropriate here. So really we're looking at how do we build a detached single family house that's 3 or 4 bedrooms at $350 to $400. And that sort of narrows it way down to how can you do that. And the deficit that's there for that style of home, especially in this area. So really that's where we kind of came up with the Dries Pure Style, and simply what that means is it's a type of product that fits perfectly on this style of lot, this size of lot, and it's really made for this size of lot. Bigger lots, it wouldn't look as good because it's, you know, really a 40-foot wide footprint. We built we're building this exact product in other areas in Southern Kenton County. They're proposed in our new development in Everett Ridge over on Harris Pike. We built quite a few of them in villages at Corsi, so it is sort of a proven product that we've moved through, and we see a pretty high demand for this area. So our Pure Style product, part of the reason we can pull the price tag down is because it's more of a curated style home, meaning they're almost all still built to order, meaning the homeowners buy the lots, make the selections, but they're more curated, so their selections are slimmed down. And that's not only for the price, for efficiency, but it's also because the person who's usually buying this home usually wants a more streamlined process that's a little quicker, a little faster. So as far as the people that buy this, as was mentioned, a lot of them are first-time home buyers this is their first detached house that they can afford and they can move into. Really, I think a lot of the comments about the aging in place was more of the reason being is because it's just lot size. It's not necessarily the price, it's people are looking for this lot size, and that's what they want. They don't want a half-acre to an acre lot to manage and take care of. So that's kind of why this product type does attract some residents, but again, we're by no means you know, marketing it to that demographic as much as it's just we're marketing it based on the size and the style and the type of home, and really it's a price-sensitive house. So again, those are really kind of the push for this style of home. It just creates a nice streetscape, and our homes are built and designed to fit on this lot style. And again, we see a huge demand for this area, and we would be thrilled if this moves through and we're chosen to build in this community. So I'm available if there are any other questions. Thank you.
Question? Yeah, Commissioner Vaughn.
With regard to the style of home that you're intending, I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Pure Style.
Is there a master bedroom and bathroom intended on the first floor of those?
We have different styles. Some do, some don't. Ultimately we have, you know, 6 or 7 floor plans, and then a bunch of elevations on top of that. So there's different styles for, you know, whoever kind of decides there. More of these are more traditional when you're having 3 or 4 bedroom homes. Upstairs.
Because of the smaller footprint?
Yeah, because of the smaller footprint.
Okay.
So,
That's what I was trying to understand.
yeah.
So every home is 2-story?
We have a couple ranch products. So it's, and it's, again, we'll put a model, we'll put maybe 1 or 2 markets, but most of them are customers who come in, they make the selection of the house, and they choose which one they want to build.
Yeah, I would think it would be even more of a challenge to get the 3 and 4 bedroom homes with 1 story on a 52-foot wide lot.
And again, some of them are, some of them may just be 2 bedrooms with finished basements. Some of them may be, 2 bedrooms with, unfinished basements. It's really ultimately, we just try to lay it all out and let the customer decide what they want to do. The biggest point of these type of product is it fits in that 40-foot footprint. So it fits onto a 50-foot lot, and it looks good on a 50-foot lot, and that it's it's more of a curated style, meaning that there's a little bit limited selection compared to some of our other homes. That allows us the efficiency to kind of pull that price down. And again, it's that's what the reason we would hope to build here and hope to build this style of home.
Other questions? Yeah.
So, these are not patio homes, and is there an HOA?
Ultimately, that would be up to the developer.
But is there any green space that the HOA is gonna have to take care of other than the 2 detention ponds?
Do you want to come up?
That's one of the things we were bringing up, as far as reducing the density.
So that would create your green space?
That would create the green space, and we will have an HOA. Even the other thing I thought about when I sat down, I'm gonna lose a little bit more, because when I do the decel lane, I'm gonna lose a little bit more to the roadway and right-of-way. So it's I said 62, I keep going the other direction, Usually I get paid to get as many lots as possible and not go backwards. But it's a nice product, and we will have an HOA. That was the question, yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? I guess I had a question in the Mr. Sketch's email that he had submitted as part of the application. So, as Mr. Videkovich laid out, we can either find that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, or if it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan, there's two statutory areas. One is that we could find that whether or not there's been the existing zoning classification is inappropriate and the proposed zoning classification is appropriate, or that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of the area. And I know in that submittal it indicated that it felt like the latter of the two that said, let's see, we do not believe that the low-density residential use is appropriate as there has been significant economic and social changes within the last 20 years. There isn't a whole lot of detail there. I don't know if you have any more to add to that point, or.
Well, if I can talk about the last 20 years, there have been significant differences from widening with Mount Zion, the whole interchange, the new interchange, the highway now going all the way to Independence, Richwood, all the restaurants and shops, and not shops, but restaurants and grocery stores at Richwood, grocery store at Mount Zion, Dixie Highway. There's, I wish it would get widened, but it hasn't gotten widened yet, but it was in the 10-year plan. But Independence, look at the growth at Independence with the brewery and the restaurants and the Kroger's has been there over 20 years, but all the other things that are across the street from Kroger's. And so this is a good place. You're between Independence, you're between Richwood, you're between Mount Zion, all these activities, all the industrial that's being built along Mount Zion and off the Richwood exit, all those industrial buildings and manufacturing buildings. So all those things, we think this is a good place. Bayhair Road's a nice road. It's a nice part of the county, you know. It's sometimes you're stuck between railroad tracks, but that's the only thing I can say negative about it. You know, I drive that road a lot, so we just think we're part of the comp plan except for the three things that, you know, one of them I don't think you can ever make work, so, okay?
20 years ago.
It's in there. I think it was from,
Just small areas.
the banquet, yeah, from
That's not the
'06.
pages
Yeah, right.
But the comp plan.
I did have a question for Mr. Maines, real quick. So, you've heard about, you know, what would like to do, you know, as far as trying to find income-aligned housing that works. And we have seen that things just get more and more expensive to do. I mean, do you all have a product that is a single-family home, not an attached home that is, you know, gets to a lower,
No.
materially lower price
mean,
point?
No, I'm sorry, Control. Really, no. I mean, that's the simple answer. It's, you know, there's a couple ways to get it affordable. Either you incentivize it, which, you know, we're not talking about here, or you create more density with an attached or, you know, product condos and townhomes, which we sell and do great in the appropriate areas, or you reduce quality. And, you know, we're not willing to reduce quality. I don't think the area wants us to reduce quality. So really, at the end of the day, in order to get a quality home, this is sort of the most effective way to do it. And, you know, again, we talk about differences and changes and how things have gone. The need in today's market has changed significantly in that you have to get that efficiency out to provide a home that is at that price point, still quality. So you need that efficiency with the infrastructure, so the smaller lot size. And, you know, the benefit of it is the consumer's now more comfortable with it, and in fact, a lot of them want that. So it's you know, it's pretty easy sell. All right.
Yeah.
So, you say the houses are $350,000 to $400,000.
Mhm.
That is what you start them at. But once anybody puts anything in there, they start escalating quite quickly, correct? Other than levels,
Well-
once you go to your different levels. on
Yeah, well,
selections?
that's
So what is the intent, what do you guys like average, I guess would be the question. If you say it's $350,000 to $400,000, is that the starting price of the house, or is that what the average price that you anticipate once they add in all these extras?
That's the average price we anticipate, and that's part of the reason why we sell a pure style home. That is, it's more closely aligned to our marketed price, because that's kind of what the customer needs and what they want. You know, if it were 80 to 100 foot lots, we'd expect customers to put $50,000 to $250,000 worth of options on it. This one is really, there's a limited number of options. All the kind of selections are, they're not predetermined, but you only have so many choices that keep them within that same sort of grade or same range. And so your finished price comes in at that $350 to $400 range.
Yeah, Mr. Bridges?
So is this your lowest priced Drees single-family detached home?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that was our applicant and staff. Let's move on to, where are we? Yes, there, Mr. Miller, would you like to say anything?
I'll be very brief. I think these
Would you
guys did a
state your
great job.
name and address? for
Oh,
the
I'm
record,
sorry.
please?
J.J. Miller, 10847 Omaha Trace, Union, Kentucky. I've been developing for over 40 years now. Probably done, you know, more than a dozen subdivisions, all single-family residential. Proud of everyone I've done, and I would be proud of this too if I get an opportunity to do it. We're just trying to meet what the demand is in the marketplace. You can't You can't build big lots and sell them and people will be able to afford the housing. It's just that simple. There's one in Independence that's sitting right now, it had 81 lots on the ground for quite a while, 100 foot wide, probably cheapest, 140,000. I don't think one sold, not one. In contrast, they told you, I just put one in Independence, opened up the first of the year, 70 foot lots. Fisher building all the houses, they're probably more for 450 and up to another 50 to 100,000. It's all first-time people moving out of apartments. It's step up, I guess, people retiring. I don't know that much about a buyer because I just deal with the builder to sell them lots. But I closed on the 16th lot today. I mean, it's exceeding my expectations. I wish I had another 100 lots to sell of that size or this size or whatever. And they don't have to be 52-foot lots. I don't care if they have to be bigger. We're going to reduce the number, and we'll be below the number we tell you. Anything we tell the staff or tell you all, it'll be that way for sure. So I just want to say I'd love to have the opportunity to do this. If I'm forced to do 1 acre lots or half acre lots, and I won't do anything because you just lose a lot of money. It's simple as that. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity for us to get a chance here. So hopefully it'll work. Thank you very much.
Questions for Mr. Miller?
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right.
I probably don't have all the answers.
We're good.
All right.
Thank you.
you.
All right, so that's all I have signed up to speak in favor. Let's start with those opposed. Mr. Dalton? Oh, Ms. Dalton, sorry.
My name is Jessie Dalton. I live on Mayhair Road. I've lived there for 32 years. All the houses on that side of Mayhair Road from Boone County down to Bank Lick have single-family homes, and the land is probably 7 acres or more for each lot. So this doesn't fit in with the main thing. I'm in opposition to this. I'd like to start with the topic of housing for seniors in place. The proposal of the smaller lot, higher density development provides housing that is conducive to allowing citizens to age in place, is what the proposal says. However, the Kenton County Age Well initiative states that 75% of elderly adults in Kenton County choose to age in their current dwelling. The emphasis of the initiative is to support seniors in remaining in the homes they already occupy, not encouraging them to purchase new homes and relocate. The proposal states that these homes would sell for $350,000 to $400,000, would be unattainable for older adults. This raises an important question that I have. Are seniors living on fixed incomes realistically going to purchase a new home at that price and move? Even with Kentucky's Homestead Act exemption, homeowners would still be responsible for property taxes, HOA costs, insurance, and ongoing maintenance costs amounting to several $1,000s a year annually. These expenses make it difficult to characterize these homes as attainable for many retirees. Furthermore, the AGE initiative discusses age-friendly housing features such as accessibility and the ranch style. Yet the applicant indicates on page 4 that the proposed homes will contain 3 or 4 bedrooms. That description does not suggest the smaller accessible floor plans that many older adults seek when downsizing. In fact, many seniors prefer to reduce the size of their homes rather than to purchase 3 or 4 bedroom residences. I'd like to talk on the topic of traffic access. The email states that the access to the proposed development will utilize the existing intersection with a turn lane and deceleration lane that's already in place. However, that existing turn lane and deceleration lane is constructed to serve the entrance of Mayhair Meadow Glen on the opposite side of the street. They're not designated to accommodate traffic entering the proposed development, and therefore have little relevance to the additional traffic this project would generate. If road improvement becomes necessary to safely accommodate this new development, those costs should not be the responsibility of taxpayers. And the housing market need, the email states that the development fills a recognized gap in the local housing market and supports first-time buyers as well as those over 65. However, this claim appears inconsistent with the findings contained in the staff report. Specifically on page 6, it states that this type of housing represents an area of oversupply within Kenton County. In addition, on page 10, the staff's recommendations state unfavorable approval for the requested zoning map amendment. If the county planning staff has already determined that this housing type is oversupplied and has recommended denial of the rezoning request, it's difficult to support the assertion that the proposal is going to fill a recognized housing gap. And as far as the bigger picture, regional traffic impacts, has adequate consideration been given to the cumulative impact? Mayhair Road extends into Boone County, where it provides access to US 25/Dixie Highway. That intersection already presents challenges for motorists attempting to merge safely onto Dixie Highway. Boone County is moving forward with a 312-unit apartment development that's directly across from Mayhair Road. Once that project's completed, traffic volumes at this intersection will continue to increase substantially. When the traffic generated by that apartment complex is combined with the additional vehicles from the proposed Mayhair development, congestion and safety concerns will only intensify. And finally, another important consideration is always the potential impact on local schools. Has adequate consideration been given to the capacity of the schools and other public services that would serve not only those proposed development, but also there's an additional 261 homes currently beginning construction at the other end of Mayhair in Kenton County. And it's located on the intersection of Mayhair and Independence Road. As residential growth continues, it's important to ensure that the resources have the capacity to accommodate the cumulative impact of multiple developments. Thank you for your consideration with my concerns.
Questions for Ms. Dalton? Question? All right, thank you. All right, let's see. Next signed up, Heather Grothaus. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Heather Grothaus. I live on Mayor Road also. When I first saw the post about the proposed development, I genuinely thought that it was satire, making fun of the overdevelopment of southern Kenton County. You guys have probably heard all of the SRI stuff. We've been here to speak about it, but it is actually genuine. To consider cramming 68 lots and 4.31 houses per acre onto the proposed parcel on this road is a terrible idea. I did bring some pictures here, and you're not going to be able to see detail, but I think you'll get the idea. So this is a photo of our personal lot. Our house has been on Mayor Road for about 33 years also, and the red lines is our lot. We have 6.27 acres. The little yellow square is our house, and the other little yellow square is our barn. So one house, 6.27 acres. If we used the same ratio that the proposed development would, there would be 27 houses on our lot. That's a lot. And I know it's a bigger portion. So if we look Here is our lot plus the Dalton's lot plus our other neighbor's lot. It's about the same area as the proposed, about 18 acres. This is 3 houses.
Ms. Grothaus,
Yes,
could you
sorry.
speak to the commission? So,
Yeah, 3 houses as opposed to 68 houses in the same area. It's, doesn't fit in with the entirety of the south of Mayor Road. And there is a subdivision across the street from the proposed development, but you guys have already heard that originally the one across the street was 2.5 dwellings per acre, and that's what it looks like directly across the road. It would almost double that to 4.3 dwellings per acre, so 68 houses. It's like the clown car of developments. The impermeable surface of the new development would be damaging, and I know that they're planning on retention ponds, but with the blue line streams, the runoff into the valley directly behind it, neighboring ponds, and ultimately Banklet Creek, we must stop paving over every acre of open grassland. I did note in the requirement that the sidewalks for and along the proposed development. Sidewalks to where? The walk score of this road is 0 out of 100. People don't live on Mayor Road in order to be able to walk to the doctor or bike to school. No one is walking Mayor Road to get anywhere. To suggest that this development would be an option for aging in place is ludicrous. The area is not walkable, it's not bikeable, and appropriately, there is no public transportation because it's a rural agricultural area. The terminal intersections of this portion of Mayor Road, so you're crossing railroad tracks immediately before US 25 or crossing railroad tracks immediately before Banklick Road, is already congested and dangerous. Neither end has good line of sight in either direction. Both manage traffic via a single stop sign and automatic railroad crossing arms, which, when are activated several times a day, often back up traffic into curves on Banklick and US 25. Both ends are also near or at the intersection of other roadways with equally poor lines of sight. So the other end of Mayor Road that comes into Banklick, kind of like, there's like a dog leg there. And then also Deer Trace Drive in US 25. So if you've ever tried to turn out of Mayor, south onto 25 toward Richwood, you are taking your own life into your hands. Adding more traffic, especially permanent residential traffic to these intersections, would be irresponsible. As it stands now, Mayor Road and the surrounding roads in that rural area are not properly maintained to support the amount of traffic that we're seeing increasingly every week from the new subdivisions. Many are literally collapsing at the shoulders, and they're being patched with blacktop. The repairs fail very shortly afterwards. They just can't contain this kind of ongoing residential traffic that's growing, and yet the building still continues. Like Jesse said, all of the new subdivisions that are going in between Mayor Road and Independence, the roads are collapsing, they're falling apart. And what's being presented sounds to us like streamlined or fast, limited curated choice, cheap houses on small lots, enclosing the proposed development or any development higher than the rural density residential, which we heard recommended, the 1 or 2 houses per acre, is completely unsuitable and inappropriate for this location. Thanks.
Any questions for Ms. Grothaus? Thank you. Mr. Grothaus.
Tim Grothaus, I live at 991 Mayor Road, just down the street from the proposed development. I'm opposed to changing the zoning for this or any other dense development on the south side of Mayor Road. This type of development, it just doesn't fit into this part of the community. Some multiple acre lots with homes would look great there. Mayor Road can't handle the traffic that it has now. We don't need any more. You mentioned not having, I believe you said not having to do a traffic study for this development, but when was the last traffic study done on Mayor Road would be my question. Because it's, trust me, I know, it gets busier all the time. There are plenty of other areas in Kenton County that this type of development would fit in much better. Independence is booming.
and similar housing is going in over there. There are lots of communities where there is much better walkability, shopping, access to work. The land behind this planned development is all zoned for industrial. Are we going to make sure that the people that buy these homes with $1 million view know what could possibly go up there? Is that going to just automatically sink their housing prices once it's built back there? Again, I respectfully oppose rezoning this parcel for such a dense development. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Groothouse? Thank you. All right, let's see, we have Mr. Barth.
Hi, I'm Don Barth. I live at 946 Mayor Road. Well, I'd rather see that all green and never be developed. I know that's not going to happen. I think it's your job to control the growth. I think it's awfully dense, and lots of things are already stated here. I won't repeat them. Traffic's going to be a huge issue. Another one of my big concerns that may not come up is east goes down a hill to a creek. There's a house on the north side, right next to before the creek. I've seen it flood about a third to a half of the way towards the house. Our property is on the east side of that creek. That also floods from time to time. I'm not an engineer. I like that you've got 2 retention ponds. But if you look at the total square footage of road, driveway, sidewalk, and house, all that water's got to go somewhere. We already have some flooding issues. I'm not an engineer. I think that could be a problem. I think you need to limit the number of houses per acre. Across the street is 2.5. And I know one of the things that was mentioned was down the road is 3 point something, but that includes hills, valleys, etc. And they said this is very efficient where they don't have that extra area, but that's more area that retains water. More rain, harder rains, more frequent rains. I think that's going to be an issue.
So stormwater gets brought up somewhat regularly with new developments, and I'm not an engineer myself, but as I understand it, they're obligated to make sure that their new developments don't spill off more stormwater than they currently have. They have to retain that there on their site. So I don't know, Paul, is that accurate? So
there's also not much green space there.
Yeah,
that's my next best argument.
Okay.
That some of it needs to be less dense to get more area green. So I have.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Barth? All right. Thank you. Okay. Stephanie Kimberlin had indicated she did not need to speak. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Carla. Carla was that. Stephanie, please. Yeah. Carla was the one who didn't need to speak. Yes. Yes. It's you. Sorry to throw you off there.
Can you hear? I'm a teacher. Can you hear me? All right. My name is Stephanie Kimberlin. I live on 877 Mayhair Road. You all, the speakers prior to me, thank you for probably saying better what I'm going to say. But we, my husband, my family, our farm is the entire southern property line with this development. Our working farm that is zoned industrial. Working farm means we have farm equipment. We raise hay, which is food for cows, which is beef for human beings. We raise chickens as a small business for my son. We have cows, chickens, and grown children. We have farm equipment, makes noises. It's private property. We have had issues already with the neighborhoods across the street on the north side of Mayhair, with people thinking because our property is a gravel road that it must be a park. It is not. So there is a big issue with trespassing. The eastern property line is Owen Electric, but then that is, no one lives there, which rolls down into our farm road, gravel private road, which is our property, okay? I think that's right, the eastern. And so that creek that lays at the bottom of that is called Wolfpin Branch, which does not dry. It's not a dry creek, it's not a runoff creek, which goes right into Banklet Creek a few miles further down. So everything that's been brought up by the opposers, I can only second that, but we have a greater stake personally. Where does the sewer go for any development that's going to be put on that property? I don't need to mention that it already goes against the 2.2 comprehensive plan. Our property is agricultural. It is also industrial. If and when we ever sell, it will be for industry. They make better neighbors. Because people can get in and out through the Richwood Industrial Park. They don't have to go in and out off of Mayhair. That's where our property dead ends. So we have issues with trespassing, however you want to emphasize that word. We have issues with where does the sewer line go? Because poop rolls downhill, and the downhill part of that development goes right through our property. Again, that's something you all can't address necessarily, but you shouldn't even have to address it because this plan is absolutely outside of the comprehensive plan by 2.2 houses, which is something, you know, you all talked about a couple years ago, even last year. The other issue I have is, well, everything that they have said, but I want to get into a little bit more detail about how does this development, as it's proposed, how does that increase revenue for the county? Property taxes? I mean, I am a teacher, I am a farmer, but I can't be good at everything. So I'm just going to use some Google math here. All right, this is just a quick Googling. All right, I haven't done near the research that some of my other speakers prior to me have done. I wrote these down, so excuse me if I'm flipping through this. I'm a little nervous. I got some pages sticking together maybe. Yeah, here it is. On a $400,000 home, the property taxes, which not all of that goes to schools, the property taxes is approximately, you know, Google numbers, $4,000. Local school, 44% per student in Kenton County, 44% per student in Kenton County.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Thank you. Appreciate your comments, but the tax revenue that the development's going to generate or not generate.
Yes, sir.
Isn't part of our analysis. Is
Okay,
that something
then
that-
I'll stop talking about it.
Thank
But I am going to ask that question. I'm going to leave that question hang out there then, and thank you, because that saves me a lot of math I may not understand. So I appreciate that. Is again, how does this generate revenue or making our county better, making it more livable? I don't know. I don't think it does, and that's why we elect you here. Make those decisions. So again, I'm going to stop with saying I have the real personal concern of the entire southern property line of this development neighboring our farm. And then complaints from an HOA, runoff on the backside, runoff the sewer, the trespassing, and the fact that this goes against, we don't even need to talk about the traffic on Mayhair. This goes against what was already submitted as the comprehensive plan at approximately 2.2 houses per acre. And thank you for keeping me from looking silly. I'm done. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Kimberlin?
Yes, ma'am.
How many acres is your property situated?
Approximately 88 to 100. I am a farmer for 28 years. It's my husband's family's property. It's approximately 88, maybe a little bit more. And it goes back to it touches the Richwood Industrial Park. Anyone else? All right, y'all, thanks.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Carlo Palmer's does not wish to speak. And then Jerry Bach is the last person I have signed up.
My name is Jerry Bach, 725 Mayhair Road. I've been referred to before in presentations as a neighbor. I'm in, me and my wife. We're right next to it. It's a family farm. Moved there 24 years ago, been associated with that place 29 years. My wife, if I tell her how long she's been there, she'll get on me for telling her age. As the other people have stated in opposition, I can speak of heart, but I speak all of their knowledge that they have given. I ask you all to think about it, present it, and I understand progress too. There are a lot of things on Mayhair Road that are great. One, the thing is, when I moved there with my wife after we were married, it was open spaces. I was born a farmer. I worked in a factory for 43 years, really traveled for 18, but still my life is farming. Green space is fantastic. When you go out and see deer, squirrels, rabbits, occasional groundhog, I just want you all to think about the green space. I understand about everything about building. Mr. Miller trying to get stuff out of his land. I understand that. But there was a statement made earlier, and I made note of it. It said, Mayhair Road's a great place to be. Why do you think I moved there? And now we've got the potential of this. If it's going in, I can't look at that many houses because of the road. The traffic itself it's horrendous. Recently retired. I think what my father-in-law used to do after he retired, he used to count the cars going down the road. That was 20 years ago. I bet you in an hour's time, that number that he counted has now doubled. So, I'm not going to take any more of your time. The people that came before me presented some great facts. I come from a little sympathy here. Look at the green space. We're losing it. And I hope that you consider all that in your final decision. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bach? Thank you. Okay, that's all I have signed up to speak. Let's see, I do have an email to read from Benjamin Bach. Commissioners, I'm Benjamin Bach. I reside in Independence, long live in Kent County. Is adding to the unfavorable recommendation by PDS. It's the lack of alignment to the Northern Kentucky Area Development District housing needs. Small area study for 1 acre or more per housing for conservation. Lack of consistency with surrounding density of the 2 dwelling units per acre, and inappropriateness of development location relative to county areas all particularly stand out to him as valid consideration. Let's see, he mentions stub cul-de-sacs, but I didn't think there were stub cul-de-sacs. Let's see, neighbors would like it to remain agricultural. It's more in line with their expectations than 4.3. And the intersections are already highly problematic, and increasing traffic would be irresponsible. So we will enter that into the record. Let's see, it's Exhibit A. Let's see. That's all I have. We don't have anyone neutral to speak. Would the applicant like to respond to some of the comments that were made?
I try to keep notes, but I'm not doing it. I think the aging in place gets a little confusing. I think aging in place is if you're 30, 40 years old, you buy a house here, you're aging there and retiring there and staying there. You're not moving. I think that's the aging in place that I envision. It's not somebody moving there as old as me in their 60s to retire there and age in place. It's the person that gets to live there for 30, 40, 50 years, aging in place. And that's what Mrs. Dalton, I was just trying to, her definition of aging in place, mine was a little different, that's all. And as far as the widening of the road, the road, yeah, there's no left-hand turn lane today because there's nowhere to go to, but the widening is there. We just have to restripe it, make it better, and do a decel lane into the property. And then Mrs. Roadhouse, as far as the detention, I think you guys covered that real good, and zoning. Mr. Barth, I think he was mostly about the flooding and green space. The green space is where I think we can make some adjustments to the plan, the concept plan, and come up with some green space and open space and create an HOA to handle that. As far as the neighbor to the south, and this is, my writing is terrible, I think it was Cumberland. You know, as she brought up the sanitary sewer, we're not planning on doing anything to the south property line or getting down on the south. We bought the property, Mr. Miller bought the property from the utility company. The sewer, he is guaranteed an easement through that property to get to the sewer. So we were going to the east to get to the sewer. The sewer runs along their gravel road down there that they enter in on an easement. So, you know, that's an easement that they have across the utility company to get to their farm, but there's a sewer down there, that's how we're going to get to the sewer. We do not have to get on our neighbor to the south. And then Mr. Bach, he is our neighbor to the west. You know, his comment to Mr. Miller that he didn't want the cul-de-sac extended, he didn't want the activity, but if it's something that we have to do, we will do it. But if he doesn't have any desire to have it, is what he told Mr. Miller. Mr. Bach, I don't know if it was Mr. Bach or Mr. Bach's father or who, but the property that this piece is on and the utility was the Bach farm, and they sold it to the utility company, and Mr. Miller bought it back from, this portion of it back from the utility company. So those are all my notes that I kind of took, and I just wanted to let you know. All right.
Okay.
Question. So you've indicated willingness to do what you need to do to get it to the 4.0, which roughly puts it 60, give or take, right?
Yes.
But to get it to reach the comprehensive plan at 2.0 for the conservation, you'd have to, instead of 60, you would have to go to 30. And at that point, I guess it's not financially feasible.
No, it's not feasible, yes. But, you know, I know we're on the south side of the road, and the north side of the road is developing, and they got more and more, and I haven't understood, and maybe I'm not smart enough to understand why why the group that keeps extending Glenhurst, why they don't get one zone changed for their whole property. They just keep moving. They just come back and get sections at a time. I don't understand why they do that, you know, instead of getting the whole property zone at one time. I guess it doesn't look so bad if you only get 124 zone this time, and then you come back 5-6 years later, get another 124 zone. But you know, that Glenhurst is to continue to grow. This is it. Whatever we built here, 58, 60, whatever we end up with, this is it. There's no place to grow. There's nowhere to tie into. You know, this is a community. We will have entrance walls. It'll be a nice community. Like I said, we'll put a little park in there to help with the density part of it. You know, try to keep everybody in buffer. We can buffer to the west, and we can buffer real good to the south. The east, you know, we're going to buffer that to protect ourselves because of what it, you know. But there's trees there already and different things. So there'll be signage. You know, those are all my comments. I'm just trying to say we're going to do a nice neighborhood development. I hope people don't, you know, think we're going to bring a bunch of people in that's to trash the neighborhood. So.
Thank you. Okay, let's recess the public hearing for discussion among commissioners.
I have two observations. One, you notice when you see most of these developments and they come in and they talk about their green space that they're making, and then they just really tout the green space. And then we look at the topo map, and it's all about a steep valley and a creek, and you couldn't build a doghouse there. And then they come in with a nice flat property. Do you see the walking trails and the green space and all? Every inch has a house on it that they just kind of take the green space with a grain of salt, because here, you know, they build everywhere that they possibly can. And then just secondly, last month I complained about the development with he called it uninspired, and I said lack of imagination of the commercial, you know, low-end stuff, convenience stores, fast food. That's what you get when you just continue the downward spiral of the lowest end housing that you can put in there, and then you get the lowest end commercial stuff too. That's why we're getting what we saw last month, because they just keep bringing in the lowest end stuff in southern Kenton County. That's my observations.
Any comments?
I guess my biggest question is how we, you know, even if we wanted to approve it, we have to either find that the current comprehensive plan is inappropriate or that there's been a major change, and I just haven't seen anything put into evidence to allow us to approve this if we wanted to.
I agree.
That's the biggest problem we have. And we're, quite frankly, we're being asked to change it from agriculture on A1 with a zoning of 1 per acre up to 4, you know, and it's just like, I think it's, we're not even asked to go to the 2.2, which is what the comprehensive plan allows, but not what it zones, so that, you know. But my biggest problem is I don't know that we have what we need to approve, if we even want it.
Well, and I think too, there's, at some point, there's Independence, you know, was rural, it's growing more and more suburban. Unincorporated Kenton County is still rural. They are joining, and in this case, Mare Road is the dividing line, right? One side is Independence, the other side is unincorporated Kenton County, but the line has to be somewhere where you say it's we're going to reduce the density, and so now the 4.0 is moving across Mayhair Road into an area that's 4 times what the current zone allows, twice what the comprehensive plan recommendation would allow, and we're maybe back to that bridge too far again. That at some point we got to, you know, listen to the citizens that don't want all that development in that area. That I don't know, I think it's a great it's a great plan for Dries and its applicant to have homes that people can afford in an area where they would like to live. It's unfortunate it's on the wrong side of Mayhair Road, and for me, I think
What catches me though is the rural quality is deteriorating because it's zoned, the current farm is zoned industrial. Unfortunately, in a few years, it's going to be warehousing or something. So that rural quality is disappearing. So the fact that we're adding more density to the housing, I just think it's inevitable. Eventually, this is going to develop based upon some of the current zoning that has been already approved that surrounds this piece of property.
I'd like to piggyback on that. I mean, as I'm looking at it, and you all can clear me up on this, but it doesn't meet the comprehensive plan. But there's also statements from staff that talk about if it was income aligned, the density would be much greater. So we wouldn't be looking at 60 to 64 units. We'd probably be looking at more to be able to fit onto the property. So if it's going to get developed eventually, I'm trying to figure out what would be the better development, 60-something units or something with a higher density that actually met the income housing allotment. So I'm conflicted there as to not really wanting more, because more units on there certainly doesn't meet the needs of the neighbors. Where I need help is when we talk about that second condition of material, social, economic, and physical changes over 20 years. What would that evidence be? I mean, I tend to agree that says we have to prove that out in order to make a change, but what would that evidence have to be? I mean, we know what the growth has been like out there, and we know that the plan was written 20 years ago. We know it's much different now, but what does the physical evidence have to be in order for us to consider something like that?
Didn't it test since the last comprehensive plan?
Since the last comprehensive
And that was a year or two ago.
Okay, so we're not talking about the
20
small area
years.
study 20 years ago. We're talking about a year or two ago.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I think one of the things that Commissioner Darkle brought up and is what I believe, several things. There was no evidence of the economic, physical, or social nature other than the generalized, we have growth. That is true, but it isn't a major change that wasn't anticipated that substantially altered the basic character of the area. There is a line at points in time. I am from Southern Kenton County and Independence, but I struggle with people coming in and saying, not in my backyard, because there are times where it is appropriate to be in your backyard. I just don't think this is the right space for this particular thing. I think it looks like a great product. I think people could use that. I think finding a lot to put that on is the tricky part for you, and I definitely get that. I just don't feel like we're meeting the state statute to allow us to take this action. And I listened really carefully. I made lots of notes to make sure if there was anything. So those are my feelings with regard to it, my thoughts.
So just clarifying, so it's not, my own thinking, it's not so much the Income Housing Alliance or anything like that. It is the state statutes that's driving us towards not being able to prove out that second item.
And I think that the income aligned stuff just allows that deviation. It doesn't mandate.
The overriding of the comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember,
So-
we're being asked for map amendment here, zone change.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the zone change, and then when you start talking about your densities within the zone change, and you start getting to the income line and all that, it deals with the density of that zone. Right now, what we need to be looking at is you got a criteria for a zone change. And I said it before anybody even got up and stood. I said, we need to hear why you guys are asking for this, because I didn't see it really. I mean, I saw mentions of it in the report and stuff. But the bottom line is that, we got this comprehensive plan that's supposed to be our guidebook, not our Bible, but our guidebook. And you got to be able to prove certain things and say, this is why this deserves to go here.
Okay.
And that's kind of, and because if a big, huge warehouse just went on the farm below them and stuff like that, suddenly you're like,
Substantial,
wait a
yeah.
minute, okay? We thought it might go there. Now it's there. That to me, I would say, that's a change. You know, hey, wait a minute, this isn't gonna remain the little family farms up here anymore. You know, that's a change. If there's, you know, some financial incentives goes, I mean, who knows? But I just didn't, in this particular case, I actually like the plan. I think it's a good, well laid out plan. I know the work of the developer and the engineer. I think they do great products. This just doesn't fit here. And we haven't heard the reasons why the comp plan needs to be changed to put it here.
Yeah, I would kind of echo that. I mean, I tend to just look at what not just look at, but I focus on what the statute requires for the analysis. You know, Mr. France, you know, your comment about, I think we need to start listening to neighbors and what they want. That's not what's our job here. That's not what we're told to do by statute. But I agree with, you know, what I've heard, which is, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I asked the applicant, because it does seem like there have been some changes, but I can't put a finger on it, and I didn't really hear anything that was significant enough to tell me that yes, that statute has been met, and so it's appropriate to make the change, even though it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. You know, one of the things I wonder, which we see, is when people review their future land use maps, I don't think people spend, the municipalities, and I don't think they spend a lot of time really thinking about the land use map. And if it in their mind it ain't broke, don't fix it, and they'll just let it be for the most part. And it does seem like 2 dwelling units per acre is light, and it's based on that study, which we did hear. Really, this was kind of just a small part of it towards the end of it, and it was 20 years ago. So it does seem like 2 dwelling units is light in this day and age, but you know, I don't believe it's 4.3, and I certainly didn't hear enough, you know, to say that the statute's been met. So, and I agree. I mean, it does look, the product sounds like there's a need for it. Looks like it's well laid out, but I just don't think it's met that burden.
I really like the product. I think you got a great product. I also agree. I don't think this is the right location for it. And the traffic concerns that people brought up, not having a traffic study to back up this justification for the development, that's why I would not be in favor of it.
Any other?
I'd like to just clarify.
Yeah,
something I
sure.
said. I lost track of one thing. I said I don't like to fall into not in my backyard. I certainly listen to you all, and you all have very thoughtful discussions in that. So I don't want you to think when I said not in my backyard that I ignored that. It can't be our overriding guide as to that, because there would be no development, because there is typically always 1 to 40, 200 people who say, I don't want it, I want my rural. Everybody kind of wants that. The people where we live now wanted it, and we built there, so there has to be balance in that. So I just didn't want to say any disregard to you all with regard to that, or take it that way. So I wanted to clarify that.
Duly noted. Any other discussion points? Hearing none, we'll return to the public hearing. Any clarifications needed of staff or any others? If not, we'll close the public hearing. We'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion. I'd like to make the following motion on file number PC 26-0008-MA, the unincorporated map amendment. The applicant James W. Burling Engineering on behalf of BBB Developers. The request is for a proposed map amendment to this described area from A2, an agricultural zone, to R-1F, a single-family residential zone. They're proposing a single-family subdivision with 68 lots, 8 roads, with public utilities, a net density of approximately 4.31 dwelling units per net acre, or as stated, under 4 point, it's a binding comprehensive plan. I move to deny the map amendment based on the facts and considerations contained in the staff report and the testimony of staff and witnesses, both the development group as well as the other public here present, and for the reason that I find that the proposed map amendment does not meet the criteria of granting said map amendment under KRS 100.213.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Flynn. Any discussion? Mr. Smith, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Flem,
Yes.
Commissioner France,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Herman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wickman,
Yes.
Commissioner Bridges,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway,
Yes.
Commissioner Darkle,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickey,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunham.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
Okay. All right. Let's see, next item is file number PC-26-007-TX, Lakeside Park Text Amendment. The applicant is the City of Lakeside Park. The request is a proposed text amendments to the Lakeside Park zoning ordinance to 1, relocate existing language relating to the one-time removal and replacement of existing freestanding garages, and 2, add language allowing the one-time removal and replacement of existing non-conforming freestanding or attached permanent storage buildings constructed prior to 1994 with specific requirements for replacement. Mr. Sheets?
Yep. Thank you. For the record, my name is Cody Sheets, Principal Planner with PDS staff. As the chair stated, these are proposed text amendments to the Lakeside Park zoning ordinance to relocate existing language relating to the one-time removal and replacement of existing freestanding garages, and 2, adding language allowing the one-time removal and replacement of existing non-conforming freestanding or attached permanent storage buildings constructed prior to 1994 with specific requirements for replacement. So I'll go through some history and background on the Lakeside Park zoning ordinance now. In 1994, the city adopted a revised zoning ordinance, which Planning Commission gave a favorable recommendation, with the recommendation that customary accessory structures and uses be included under accessory uses within all residential districts on the basis that providing for only 4 accessory uses within residential districts was overly restrictive. The 4 permitted accessory uses included in-ground swimming pools, tennis courts, decks and patios, and gazebos. In 1995, the city submitted a text amendment which allowed children's swing sets as one of the additional accessory uses which were permitted. In 2003, the city submitted a text amendment which part of which added customary accessory structures and uses not requiring conditions to offset safety conditions or negative effects, and prohibiting above-ground swimming pools, detached garages, and detached storage buildings as customary accessory uses. Staff gave a recommendation for approval with modified wording to read only customary accessory structures and uses, and to remove the portion regarding safety conditions. Staff noted that prohibiting these customary accessory uses would be overly restrictive. The Planning Commission voted to approve the text amendment per the staff recommendation, with the added comment recommending that the city reconsider language pertaining to customary accessory structures. The city voted to add the language which stated that customary accessory structures and uses were permitted, but above-ground swimming pools, detached garages, and detached storage facilities are prohibited. Continuing the history, in 2007, the city submitted a text amendment which included language pertaining to the repair and maintenance of non-conforming freestanding garages. At that time, staff recommended disapproval of the proposed text amendment, as that would treat a specific type of non-conforming structure differently than other types of non-conforming structures. and stated that the intent of regulating nonconforming structures is to ensure that over time they will gradually come into compliance with the regulations of the zoning ordinance and more in character with the rest of the city. And that the proposed text amendment is in direct conflict with that intent. The city voted to add the language to the ordinance. In 2024, the city adopted the Z21 ordinance, which was the culmination of several years' work. A diverse working group, which included a former and current mayor, a former planning commission member, as well as a city council member, all were part of that working group. And the city opted at that time to continue their current regulations regarding accessory structures. So the first part of the submitted request relocates the existing language regarding the one-time removal and replacement of freestanding garages from the section under non-conforming structures to the section under non-conforming uses. The proposed text amendment also cleans up cross-reference language for the existing non-conforming freestanding or attached storage buildings in the use-specific standards. The second part of the submitted request permits existing non-conforming freestanding or attached permanent storage buildings to be removed and replaced, subject to the following specific requirements listed below. These requirements are generally similar to those of freestanding garages, with a few exceptions, including a condition regarding the construction date, as well as a condition requiring building footprint requirements for replacement, as opposed to square footage requirements for replacement. So the Lakeside Park zoning ordinance defines nonconforming uses and structures in the following way. A use of land is one that does not conform to the requirements of the ordinance, but was lawfully established at the time the use commenced. And a building or structure that does not conform to the provisions of the building and/or zoning regulations, but was lawfully constructed according to the building and zoning provisions existing at the time of construction. A visual survey was conducted late last year using LinkGIS and Google Maps of Lakeside Park to try to roughly determine the number of existing non-conforming freestanding garages, as well as the existing non-conforming freestanding storage buildings. And with that visual survey, it was estimated that there are roughly 45 existing freestanding garages and 10 existing non-conforming freestanding storage buildings. The majority of these structures were concentrated along Buttermilk Pike, Dixie Highway, Arcadia Avenue, and Belmont Avenue. Here's a GIS image which shows areas along Arcadia Avenue and Buttermilk Pike. What would be non-conforming structures are highlighted in green, just to highlight some of the homes that have those. And here we see Belmont Avenue as well as East Arcadia Avenue, again highlighting in green areas that do currently have non-conforming freestanding garages or storage structures. So compliance with the comprehensive plan is not required for text amendments. However, staff does find that the proposed text amendment allowing non-conforming accessory storage buildings to be rebuilt once with specific parameters will allow for the preservation and reinvestment of homes in established residential neighborhoods. The proposed strict measurable limitations will ensure that any new storage buildings will not exceed the footprint of the existing storage building, while requiring the new storage building to be architecturally and aesthetically compatible with the existing dwelling. KRS 100 states the allowable content that cities may enact. Staff is providing a favorable recommendation on the proposed text amendment. We do find it to be appropriate and reasonable. The city does have long-standing accessory structure requirements dating back in excess of 20 years, which they did choose to carry forward with the Z21 zoning ordinance. These are unique requirements within Lakeside Park. Allowing the replacement of existing accessory structures can prevent undue hardship for property owners, which can protect property values. and the narrow scope of this allowance does not broadly expand nonconforming rights. Staff is recommending to the city that the language requiring existing nonconforming accessory structures constructed prior to 1994 not be included in the text amendments, as records going this far back may be spotty and aerial imagery is generally of poor quality. In conversations with the city, it does sound that like this language was accidentally left in from previous conversations with the city in previous iterations of the proposed text amendment. Just for reference, here's an aerial image. This is from LinkGIS. This is from 2025. Non-conforming freestanding garage is highlighted there. Here we go back to 1999. You can see the image is still fairly clear. And this one is going to be from 1989, where, as stated, it's black and white and fairly grainy, where it would be difficult to make out any structures that existed at that time. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Mr. Sheets?
So you can't replace your garage or shed with a larger garage or shed, right? You can replace it, just not with a larger one.
As the existing ordinance is within Lakeside Park in regards to garages particularly, you are allowed to replace it once. You can go up to 650 square feet if you do have a garage that's smaller. Pertaining to accessory storage buildings, you would not be able to replace it with anything that is larger than what is currently existing.
So a garage, they could increase the size up. The way I saw it read, you could only replace it up to the existing footprint. So you can't make a one-car garage a two-car garage.
Yeah. So
Well-
as it reads, and currently, you can replace it as long as it does not exceed in total space more than 150% of the garage being replaced, not to exceed 600 square feet in gross floor area, or a maximum coverage of 10% of the available yard area. That is specifically for freestanding garages, though.
Okay.
So they haven't allowed really any new structures past 94, so just cleaning up the 1994 language, is the city wouldn't have any issues with that as far as what the staff recommendation is?
Correct.
Okay.
That is my understanding in speaking with the
Okay.
city.
How do you determine, who determines what's architecturally and aesthetically compatible?
That would be the zoning administrator's determination.
Are you comfortable making that determination?
Those determinations would be a little difficult to make, perhaps.
I mean, I think you're setting up, you're putting in statute something that's a unascertainable standard. I just don't think that's a very smart thing to do.
Based on opinion.
But
Any other questions for Mr. Sheets? All right, thank you. Do we have anyone signed up to speak on this matter? All right, thank you. Let's see. Oh, goodness. You know what? I have terrible handwriting, so I should not judge you, but this is Travis. Is it Travis? Travis Bendy? Okay. And 4, and then Mike Lippert 4 as well. So, Tom. If you'll state your name and address for the record, and if you can stand behind the mic for us.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Tom Bernheimer. I live at 57 Locust Avenue in Lakeside Park, Kentucky. But I'm here as a council representative. I'm on the council. And I'm here to pinch hit for Mayor Marcraft, who had a conflict, and asked me to come by. Mostly what I want to do is thank the commission for considering this, for the work that you've put in. Specifically, I want to thank Andy Vidakovich, and I hope I got that right, or at least close, for putting together all this information in this packet for everybody to look at and review. Also, I want to thank Corey Sheets for working with another council person, Brian Waite, on clarifying the language and getting it together and where it made sense to everybody, I think. I want to thank you all, as I said, for reviewing and moving this forward. I also wanted to state that while I'm here to represent the council, the mayor, and the administration, and we're all in favor of this. And if you have any questions for me, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions?
I just think you ought to go back and reconsider putting in a standard of aesthetically and architecturally, and just giving that to zoning. You're creating a zone that somebody can come in and you're giving them a handle to beat you with. And I just don't know that you want to do that. That's not an argument you want to get into with somebody.
That's
I
true.
think if you could define that a little tighter.
Yeah.
If
Maybe
you
it'd be as
can't-
simple as saying it should match the existing structure of the property.
That's far better.
Yeah.
All right.
Something. I just think, no, as soon as you give an unascertainable, or somebody's opinion.
We don't want to make it any harder than it already has been, so.
You
I'll
understand,
take
yeah.
that under advisement, and I'll pass it along to council.
Yeah.
Once you send that back to us, we'll review it again, and I will bring that up. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Why complicate things?
That's right.
Anybody else?
Thanks for being here. It's all,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
helpful for us. We appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to be here to represent our city.
Mr. Lippert? Yes. Said he did not need to speak. So that's all I have signed up to talk. We'll recess the public hearing for discussion among commissioners. Seems pretty straightforward. I think that was great feedback on the ascertainable standard, and also the feedback that Mr. Sheets raised about the aerials and just the practical enforcement issues. But otherwise, it seems like it makes sense. Any issues? Nope. Okay. All right, we'll return to the public hearing. Any clarifications needed? If not, we will close the public hearing. We'll entertain a motion. Our
I'll make a
Lakeside
motion.
Park rep like to make that?
Make the following motion with reference to PC-26-0007-TX, Lakeside Park text amendment, City of Lakeside Park proposed text amendment to the Lakeside Park zoning ordinance to 1, relocate existing language relating to the one-time removal and replacement of existing freestanding garages, and 2, add language allowing the one-time removal and replacement of existing non-conforming freestanding or attached permanent storage buildings, and the removal of language where it's stating prior to 1994. If I said that to staff's recommendation, I move for approval of that text amendment based on the facts and considerations considered in the staff report and based on testimony of staff and witnesses present at the public hearing, and further find that the proposed text amendment to be reasonable regulation.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Martin. First by Commissioner Heydrich. Any discussion? Mr. Smith, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Heydrich?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Sketch?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Wakeman?
Yes.
Commissioner Bridges?
Yes.
Commissioner Conway?
Yes.
Commissioner Darple?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickey?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunham?
Yes.
Commissioner Flem?
Yes.
Commissioner France?
Yes.
Commissioner Herman?
Yes.
And the motion is approved.
All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, that's all we have on the traditional public hearing portion. We have reports from committees.
Question?
Oh, sure.
When does that go back to council?
We'll work on the action letter tomorrow, try to get you by tomorrow afternoon.
Perfect. We can go next Monday.
Okay. Well,
And I'll make a recommendation for the committee.
Okay, thank you. Reports from committees, executive, no report, other than we're happy Commissioner Snyder is now joining us.
Is she happy? We have a lot of questions for the treasurer.
Yeah. Direction 2030 implementation. Kareem's.
Yeah, so obviously there's been a lot of talk last month and this month about housing, and we've indicated that we did complete the housing report. Commissioner Simpson and I, we're going to give a presentation on that housing report. Obviously, he's not here, and he really wants to be here to discuss that with you. So we're going to try to do that next month or at the earliest convenient time we can do that. However, just so you know, and as we kind of talked about tonight, so we do have that study completed. We are referencing that new data in our reports, and we are looking for a place to house that on our website so it can be available both for you to review and for the public to look at as well. Aside from that, though, we do want to give you the kind of a rundown, a more in-depth rundown as soon as Commissioner Simpson can be here to do that.
I got a question. Is this still going to be county-wide, or is this going to be site areas specific?
It still is county, like a county-wide look.
I don't understand that. I think the study's flawed. You can't convince me that the housing needs in Covington are the same as the housing needs in Independence and Southern Kenton County. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And if it's not area specific, I don't understand it. Especially right now when Covington and the IRS site it's supposed to be income aligned, and nothing's income aligned at that site. No, it doesn't meet the housing at all, and I don't understand that. So if it's countywide, I think it's flawed and it's not worth it.
I think, you know, I hear your points, and there are, you know, we have to and it's dangerous when you have sort of like the future land use map. When you have something that appears so black and white in front of you, it's either, okay, is it income aligned? Then yes, we'll grant essentially whatever they're asking. If it's non-income aligned, all of a sudden now we're not going to grant anything. And so I just hope that we consider it and use it as part of the planning process and think about, you know, where it is and the product and the size and the cost, but that we don't, it doesn't come just straight black or white.
But it seems that it is coming straight black.
It's starting today. It was a good learning lesson, I thought tonight was with that.
Yeah, because in that case, you can't put anything on there except mobile homes. To meet your house.
Right.
I mean, that's just, to me, that's a taking of land.
Yeah.
You told somebody they can't develop their land.
Well, no.
What are they gonna put on there? Your 2 units per acre don't mean it. If you brought your 2 units per acre, you'd have to put a cost of housing on there that's not gonna meet your housing study. So your comp plan, your future land use is saying 2 units per acre.
Yep.
Your housing is saying it doesn't meet it. They're conflicting.
You can still, if it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, it gets approved. What it's saying is that you can go beyond what that density is if it has that income aligned kind of component to it. That's a factor that comes into it. But you still would be compliant with the comprehensive plan. It's not compliant simply because it doesn't have the income aligned housing piece.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that. I understand that fully. But the focus a lot of the times on these zone changes is first the future land use map, which is always is expressed to us. That's only one element, and in the housing is just another element. But it seems like the weight goes that way, and especially right now. I mean, I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I don't even understand what affordable housing is. I don't understand it. I don't understand that chart. I don't understand any of it, because what's affordable is what people will pay for. And if a product is there and they sell them like crazy, obviously it's affordable to somebody. Obviously they're moving out of something that makes it more affordable. on that end of it. But if you just look at a specific site and say, that's not affordable housing, who's it not affordable to? You've got something that's in Independence and they're saying it's not affordable to somebody in the river cities. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
Andy.
And you can't convince me that the housing needs, I know it's just one element, but it seems like that's the big focus right now, is this housing needs. And I just think it's flawed. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Andy, just to make sure I understand correctly, affordable housing is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is income aligned. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Okay. So in theory, if this developer had built more expensive but fewer houses on the plot of land that we were discussing today, it would have been income aligned and we would have had a very different conversation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm correct on that. Going to the conversation that you and Commissioner Simpson plan to have with us, is it possible for you to help us connect the dots that are being expressed by the commissioners now, which is to say, can you really walk us through how should we look at this relative to our determination of whether something is consistent with the comprehensive plan? I find myself frequently actually trying to scroll through pages of the comprehensive plan to see how I'm supposed to consider this in that context. So I completely agree with the sentiment here. It is very hard for me to know how much weight to put on this relative to everything else that I'm seeing. So if it's possible to help us connect the dots when you do that presentation next month, that would really help me a lot.
Sure.
And I'd like to comment, Andy has assisted with the presentation of that quite a bit ago. I think when it was the original thing came out, he came and clarified some of that. I was baffled until we had that meeting. And so it is really helpful in the explanation, because I feel like I'm a science background lawyer, so I should be able to get a simple chart. I could not until you all talked quite a bit.
Yeah.
I do agree that it is, it is hard for developers to find affordable housing. Affordable housing, I don't think any of this is affordable. It's outrageous what we're paying for housing now. So, and it's not because everybody's making mints. It's because everything costs so much to make the house and build the house and the infrastructure.
Well, what you have right now is the product, probably even said, the product that's out there right now that's being built, that's the cheapest you can build. That's the absolute cheapest you can build. The development costs are just too much.
Right.
The thing is if you're not gonna build any more housing, there's a housing need, an overall housing need. There's a lack of housing, at least that's what everybody keeps saying, there's a lack of housing. And they will take a development like that and build it out in 4 years. I mean, look at these townhomes. They can't even get them fast enough. They can't build them fast enough. So the market's there. The market's determining the affordability. I know one specific subdivision or 100-foot wide lots that's having a tough time selling. But these patio type homes and everything, they can't find the land to build them.
Well, I feel like Commissioner Dunham summarized it fairly adequately. The presence of income-aligned housing, I'll back up. The comprehensive plan allows some flexibility when considering zone changes with the maximum density if there is income-aligned housing being provided. That's not the only factor that comes into play. If there's not income-aligned housing being provided, then we're just not, the comprehensive plan does not grant or allow for that flexibility. But there still is all of the other components, including the recommended land use and the housing element of the comprehensive plan to consider as well.
How long would this presentation be?
We want to try to make it 5 minutes. We want to keep it very short and sweet. But I imagine there will probably be discussion longer than that, and based on some of the comments and stuff, we may go back and re-strategize some of that.
Yep. Is there a way that the chart, the income aligned chart, I agree, it's very confusing. But that's more like what I'm willing to pay chart for my monthly housing expense. Because if you make, that chart says over $200,000 income, there is a deficit of a value, like $1,200. But if I'm willing to pay less on my housing, there's a surplus, right? Even though my income's over 200,000, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I completely understand what you're saying, but
Well, like, it makes it look like there's a deficit if you're at a certain income, but 2 levels below that on your chart, there's a surplus. So what is stopping me from buying the surplus 4-bedroom at $1,500 or $4,100?
well, that's true, and I think that kind of came up in our
That
discussion,
chart's
like that.
That's gotta be like, my mind keeps switching between income and what I want to pay, what
Right.
I'm willing to pay on my expense.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it, like that number does not represent like the number of houses that are actually for sale in that price range, that represents the current supply. You are right, someone who could afford more, there may not be a product that they really would buy, and so they settle for something that's maybe smaller. So I think that, again, that's kind of where the supply and demand comes into the case. Like if there was the opportunity to buy something larger, they would, but they've got to. So I think that's kind of the point, is that, you know, all these houses aren't for sale necessarily, but people are living in houses that maybe that they would not choose to live in if there was like these other options available.
The question is going to be how we use it and how it forces us or doesn't force us to make decisions.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't know, the comprehensive plan, with any development, there's always going to be arguments in favor and arguments against. Right. And we try our best to paint the picture as best we can to both of you. Like, you know, there was a lot of things that we pointed out in favor, because we don't want to just like cherry pick the things that support our argument. At the end of the day, that there is like, there's like no weight given to any particular recommendation in the plan. Like no recommendation, if they meet it, is going to outweigh like these other recommendations. You sort of have to consider like the entire plan as a whole, and whether or not something is generally in compliance. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be tough, because can be arguments really with any development we see in favor or not in favor.
I think, but like I said, I think what we saw tonight was a reaction to a recommendation that it didn't meet the income aligned. And we all kind of started there at the beginning on that. So I think it just goes back to how we center ourselves on how we're going to look at the document and how we're going to use it in these conversations. And then, as importantly, how it comes from staff to become a recommendation or not. So.
Okay, well, yeah, I think the discussion's going to be a little heartier than
Might be
originally
7
thought, but
minutes
I think
instead of
that's good.
5.
I'm glad we would do it on the front end of this, and so let's do that. Okay, subdivision. Anything else, Andy, on the Direction 2030 implementation? Thank you. All right, subdivision review.
We did meet, we were talking about, we want to address and look at access to developments, and we have some developments that have 1,000 or hundreds at least of residents by one access, and especially the inclines and whatnot, and whether or not those are safe, and how we can, there's something we can put in the subdivision regs to deal with that, as well as dealing with better understanding and dealing with traffic studies and the enforcement of traffic studies, because we all say, oh, there'll be a traffic study and it'll tell us, but nobody knows, and then there's no follow-up. So we're gonna look at that and what procedures we need to follow up there, and then I'm gonna try to push a little bit for where we're talking about the access to that, because recently that I've talked with Commissioner Donovan and Matt about, signed a plat where we had a fire chief saying he doesn't like it, but it met the preliminary plat. So we want to try to figure out if there's something we can do about that, and maybe try to address that in the subregs too. That if somebody comes in and says there's a safety issue or something like that, that we have the tools to address that. So maybe incorporate that as well. That's part of the access, in my opinion. So that's what's happening. So I know Commissioner Sketch, I appreciate he's stepping up and dealing with Mr. Neltner on that, and really delving into some stuff. So hopefully we'll have some better reports as we go.
Z21.
Nothing to report.
Any reports from commission members? Legal counsel?
Nothing to report.
Staff? No general correspondence. Any new business? Any public comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Or, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Take your computer, turn it off, send it up.